Om Shanti, Ohana, and Aloha. Happy Saturday, and welcome back to the Memory Bank, where we talk about everything that lives in the marrow. This isn't just a show. It's a sacred remembering. This is a place where we peel back the layers of false science, false stories, and false limits, and we return to what the body has always known, that it's holy and it's intelligent, that it's a temple designed by the Most High. We started this journey by exploring body consciousness and soul consciousness, two very different ways of existing in a body. One is reactive, the other is responsive. One fears, one remembers. And today we're gonna dig deeper into that mystery, not through thought, but through the architecture of the body itself. Because every part of this body is a gateway, a place where spirit meets structure. And yet some of these gates have been sealed up or silenced or even removed in some cases. Today we're going to open them again together, and we'll be exploring parts of the body that the modern world has labeled unnecessary, flawed, or vestigial, like the wisdom teeth, tonsils, adenoids, appendix, the thymus, and also known as the thyroid. And we're going to remember what each one of them really does. These are the forgotten doors of the sacred body. And the first door we're opening today is right in your jawline. All right, so let's start with something simple, something you probably had taken from you before you even asked what it was for. The wisdom teeth. Funny name, huh? 4 teeth, back of the mouth, often removed before they even finish coming in. You know the story. They're just extra. They'll crowd your smile. They're evolutionary leftovers. Take them out. They're no big deal. But why would the body develop 4 teeth that show up after all of the other ones during one of the most energetically potent phases of human life, just to remove them? I mean, why would our Creator give us extra parts right at the doorway of spiritual maturity? And why do those teeth come in right as we begin to make sense of our place in the world? That same age. If you really think about it, man, this goes deep. Here's what they don't tell you about our wisdom teeth. They are ancestral roots. They're called wisdom teeth for a reason. They erupt between the ages of 17 and 25, the same window when most cultures throughout history held initiation rites. These were the years when you left behind the world of the child and were welcomed into the world of the adult, not just legally, but spiritually. In tribal cultures, this was the time for vision quests and medicine walks and ancestral teachings. And in the human body, this is the final eruption, the completion of your mouth, the final rooting of the skull. And those 4 teeth, they don't just bite food, they anchor memory in. And how we're going to break this down is from 3 different sides: Western medicine, Chinese medicine, and Vedic. And then we're going to go even deeper into soul memory. So we're going to start with the Western side. Modern dentistry tells us that these teeth are 3rd molars and usually need to be removed due to overcrowding, impaction, and misalignment. But if you trace that narrative, you'll find that this problem only really became widespread in the last few hundred years. Freethinker and researcher Dr. Weston A. Price, a dentist in the early 1900s, traveled the world studying the teeth of indigenous people who lived on unprocessed traditional diets. And what he found shocked his colleagues. Nearly every one of the people had wide dental arches, strong jaws, and room for all 32 teeth in their mouth, including their wisdom teeth. No crowding, no cavities, no braces. And he realized that the real problem wasn't the teeth at all. It's the modern diet that we have that causes the jaw to underdevelop due to lack of nutrients and chewing resistance during childhood. In other words, we don't outgrow our wisdom teeth. We have underdeveloped jaws. So rather than treating the root cause, nutrient loss, poor development, and weak bone, we started ripping out the final keys in the oracle structure. And not just physically, energetically. When you remove these teeth, you're removing part of your crown. Chinese medicine, also known as TCM, excuse me, say the teeth are deeply connected to the kidney meridians. The kidneys aren't just about urine. They're a storehouse of ancestral essence. They hold your jing, your vital essence passed down from your parents and your lineage. Teeth are seen as extensions of bone, and bones in Chinese medicine are ruled by the kidneys. So the eruption of wisdom teeth represent a final surge of ancestral qi rising through the bone system. It's not just biology, it's a spiritual transmission that happens at a certain time and age. So the back of the jaw is connected to the gallbladder and stomach meridians, which govern decision-making, clarity, courage, and digestion, not just food, but of experiences. So when those wisdom teeth begin to erupt, what's really happening is a grounding of inherited intelligence from your ancestors. The soul is settling into this body that you're in, and the root is completing, and the adult the adult self is starting to take form. And that is what they're taking out of our mouths. When those roots are pulled out without ceremony, the transfer of memory gets interrupted. And they know that, and that's why they do it. In the Vedic, teeth are seen as, I can't even pronounce it, dhatu, reflections of bone tissue, or ashti dhatu, wisdom teeth, arriving later in life, are tied to Pitta dosha, the fire of transformation, and also to the fifth chakra, the throat, which governs communication and truth. But energetically, they also complete the body's digestion of karma. Their arrival represents the... I'm sorry, I don't know how to... maturation of inner fire, the ability to discern truth, to speak from wisdom, and to integrate life lessons. They connect to the samana vayu, the inward moving energy of digestion, integration, and clarity. And like everything in the Vedic practice, when a part of the body is removed prematurely, it has a ripple effect across the subtle body. People with removed wisdom teeth often feel a vague loss of power in their voice, a disconnect in their gut-brain alignment, or a dimming of their instincts. In Vedic anatomy, this is understood. You don't remove a tooth without removing a part of a memory gate. And wisdom teeth are the final four. What your body already knows about this topic. Let's bring it home, all right? Have you ever had a moment where you wanted to speak your truth and it felt like words got stuck in your jaw or your throat? Have you ever clenched your teeth down when trying to remember something hard to say? That's not random. That's the jaw holding memory. The wisdom teeth sit back there in the far corners of your mouth like the guardians at the temple gate. They're the record keepers, the ones that carry your great-grandmother's songs and grandfather's hums and whistles, your grandfather's gifts and grit. They are the roots of ancient memory, man. And in the silence of the dental chair, those roots are usually pulled out before they ever even get the chance to speak. That's our culture, man. That's Western stuff. But you can still remember. Even if they're gone, the energetic roots remain. You can place your fingers on your jaw, breathe into those back corners, and say it out loud. I reclaim what is taken. I remember what I carry, and I feel it come back. The wisdom teeth may be gone, but the wisdom is not. It's still inside you, waiting to be sung, spoken, and passed on, because it lives in the marrow of your bones. All right. Let's move on to the tonsils and adenoids, which hits home for me because I had my tonsils taken out when I was 16, which was a terrible experience, might I add. But the tonsils and adenoids, two small clusters of lymphatic tissue, soft, sensitive, reactive. You don't notice them most days, but ask around and you'll find that a whole generation had theirs removed as kids, including myself. Sometimes both at once, before they even knew what they were for. Just another standard procedure, they'd say. Doctors told our parents that they were unnecessary. They get infected too often, they'd say, or they're not needed after childhood. They're prone to inflammation, which was, I remember specifically that one. They're so prone to inflammation. You get infections in your throat more than, so many times a year or whatever. So we got to take them out. Most of us have no idea what we've lost. So I'm here to tell you guys what we've lost. They're not just tissue. They're frequency filters, gatekeepers of your sacred temple. Your tonsils sit at the back of your throat, left and right like twin guardians of the voice. Your adenoids are higher, hidden behind the nasal cavity, quiet little sentinels of breath. Together they form a part of a sacred system. We mentioned it earlier, the Waldeier's ring. It's a full circle of immune intelligence that lines the openings between your mouth, nose, throat, and ears. And while Western science talks about them as lymphatic tissue, they're much more than that. These glands are vibrational sensors, not just for bacteria, but for emotional tone, unspoken tension, and spiritual discord. They're the first parts of your body to encounter the outer world through air, sound, smell, and energy. They filter the unseen. They protect the voice, and they are the guardians of your breath and truth. What Western medicine says is that tonsils and adenoids are recognized as part of the immune system. They help create antibodies, and they trap invaders. They act like little checkpoints, screening whatever enters into the body. But when they become swollen, red, or painful too often, they're seen as problematic. They become overreactive, so the solution, removal. And in emergencies, yes, when infection becomes dangerous, they need to be taken out. But most of the time, that choice is, it's a preventative and not necessary. It's convenient based. And, like the old saying is, be careful what you sacrifice for convenience and comfort. And here's the deeper truth to it all, man, is inflammation isn't dysfunction, it's information. The body is telling you, it's saying something. Something doesn't belong here, or I'm holding something that you won't speak. It's when you hold that thing inside and grit your teeth, they tell us, oh yeah, well, you're not supposed to say this, you're not supposed to say that, or don't speak about this. But you're maybe not supposed to speak while you're feeling the emotion of the thing, but after time, you can't just hold everything in, because that person that you're holding this thing in against is going to not have any idea, first off, and then second off, it's going to do it again and again, because you haven't said anything and they have no reason to stop. So if you continue to do that, then you're going to blow up on that person, and it's not even going to be the anger amount that you give them is not going to be about the thing that you're yelling at them about. It's going to be about the 5 times before this or 10 times before this that you didn't say anything. And yet you're going to find your anger misplaced at you. When in all reality, your body was telling you it's angry at you for not speaking your truth. So it's easier to just cut the tissue out than it is to ask what it's reacting to, But once removed, people often lose more than they realize. Not just immune support, but sensitivity, resonance, and the reflex to express. Traditional Chinese medicine says this area of the body is a sacred territory. The tonsils and adenoids sit at the intersections of the lung, the large intestine, and the stomach meridians. All of those channels that govern defense, expression, and digestion of life. The lungs distribute Wei Qi, which we discussed earlier, is your protective energy or your little invisible shield that your body produces. This shield isn't just physical, it's energetic. It senses tone, temperature, and even emotional atmosphere. The tonsils, sitting right where the breath, voice begin, act like vibrational filters. They can scan what comes in, not just air, but the intention behind the air. In Chinese medicine, chronic tonsil tissue issues are often seen as a pattern of heat or dampness in the lungs and stomach channels. Heat from suppressed emotion, dampness from stagnant qi, and usually tied to grief, guilt, and unspoken frustration. A child with repeated tonsil infections may not just be getting sick. They may be energetically overwhelmed, too much noise, too much pressure, or no safe place to speak. And removing the tonsils removes the signal, but not the root. So, in Vedic medicine, the tonsils and adenoids live within the kapha zone, the territory of structure, immunity, and emotional density. They also sit with the Vishuddha chakra, the energy center of expression and purification. The Vedic teaches that every part of the body is involved in digestion, not just of food, but of your experience. And your tonsils, they are the first layer of that digestion, the pre-screeners of emotional tone, if you will. When a child is forced to swallow his emotions like shame or fear, or anger or grief, the tonsils often swell. When truth is held back or forbidden, the throat chakra contracts and the body takes the hit, man. Swollen tonsils in this view are not a weakness. They are warning beacons, and they're saying, I'm holding what hasn't been said. I'm absorbing what shouldn't be spoken. I'm carrying what this child can't release. And when we remove them, what we remove is more than a lymph. We remove a piece of the body's ability to speak what the soul feels. Now, the Veda offer herbs like tulsi, licorice, triphala, or triphala, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, which cool and nourish the throat. It teaches oil pulling, gargling with warm salt water and turmeric. But more than anything, it calls for listening to the emotional truth of the child. And the tonsils are part of the emotional immune system. They aren't just protecting the body, they're protecting the soul's voice. So from the soul's perspective, what's happened when the tonsils and adenoids are removed? Does your soul disappear? No, but the pathway of awareness gets interrupted, and your communication and resonance between your soul consciousness and your body consciousness kind of bleed together, and then you just think that you have body consciousness, which is the plan. So, and I'm glad we're getting to this point in juncture, because that's my plan, is to reveal this in a way that we can all understand. Some people report that they've gotten quieter or less emotionally expressive after losing these two parts. Others notice they don't get sore throats anymore, but they don't get tension in the chest or tightness in the gut or headaches when they can't express themselves. The truth doesn't just go away, it just moves, and the cost of silence becomes harder to trace. Here's the beauty of it, though. Even when they're gone, that energy of the gate still exists, so you can still tap into it. And here's how these practices tell you to do it. You place your fingers gently on either side of your throat, just below the jaw, and close your eyes. Breathe in through your nose and hum as you exhale. You can feel the vibrations return into the tissue. You can say aloud, I give my voice permission to rise, or something like, I honor what was unsaid, and I clear the way. You can also breathe through the nose and imagine golden light pouring over the back of your throat. Or tone the sound, hum. That is the seed syllable of the Vishuddha chakra. And you can feel it reverberate when you put your things there. They call it your voice box, I guess. Oh, that's, but... So, what was removed physically can be reawakened spiritually. So, your intention and your will and your touch and your sound can heal you of these things and replace the physical portion that's lost. So all in all, the tonsils and adenoids are a sacred tissue discernment. They're not broken, they're not responsive. They're not broken, They are responsive tools that our body uses. They don't just react, they feel. They tell us when something doesn't resonate, when a word feels sharp, or when a tone carries pain, or when a room is full of tension that no one's naming. They are the first empaths of the body, the sonic guardians, the gatekeepers of breath, truth, and resonance. So whether yours are still with you or not, or long removed, honor that space, man. Speak truth more often. Sing, hum, pray, tap on your chest. I like to tap on my chest and, just change the tone as I tap. Before I start recording these podcasts, because it charges me energetically. I can feel the vibration of my voice charging the cells in my body and clearing my mental space so that I can do this. So I encourage you guys to do that. Okay, we are moving on to the thymus. And I just gotta get my notes ready. The thymus, most people don't even know what it does. Most doctors stop talking about it, like after childhood. It's a little gland behind your chest bone, right between your lungs and above your heart. They say it's just a part of your early immune system, that it trains your white blood cells and then fades out once you're older. Like once you're older, your blood cells just know what to do, and then you don't need it anymore, and that's why it shrinks up. And it turns to fat, and it's no longer useful, they say. But if you really pay attention, that's exactly when most people start losing their sense of trust in themselves. Right around the time that this thing supposedly shuts down. It doesn't just shut down because it's not needed. It shuts down because we stop using it. Intention is a real thing, man. When our intention is not placed into full knowledge of what we are and who we are, then it stops working. And these are all avid points to what I'm saying. The basic breakdown from the Western view is that the thymus trains your T cells, which stand for thymus-derived lymphocytes. They're the main line of defense in your immune system. They learn how to recognize what belongs in your body and what doesn't. They know what to fight off, and they know what to leave alone. So it's important, especially when you're young. And they act like once the training is over with, it's just done. That little body part's sitting there with no purpose. And that's the reason it gets fatty and needs to be removed. And that's the kind of thinking that leads people to ignore some of the most important parts of their body. Because what the Western world doesn't track is what this gland actually does beyond the immune system. It responds to stress, it responds to sound and breath. It's reactive to your environment, and it's connected to how safe you feel while you're expressing yourself, expressing your truth. One of the things that I could say is hearing myself recorded, and then my brain just beating me up about it. Oh, well, you sound like this or you sound like that, so don't do it. That's that stress portion. That's us not being able to connect with our subtle body that says this truth is right and this truth is, the world needs to hear it. So it doesn't just shut off whenever you hit a certain age. So in Chinese medicine, this area lines up with the flow of lung and spleen qi. The lungs handle protection, your outer shield. The spleen is about nourishment and clarity. The thymus sits right in the middle of that. It's tied to how strong your system is, not just physically but energetically. When this space is blocked or underactive, people don't just get sick more often, they get thrown off very easily drained, anxious and unclear. The center of your chest is called the Sea of Qi in Chinese medicine, and it's where the body pulls in energy from the breath and uses it to stabilize the whole system. So You can strengthen this area with deep intentional breathing. You can use acupuncture points like Ren 17 right at the center of the sternum to help out. Chinese medicine doesn't write this part off, but doesn't see it as central to how you hold your line. The Vedic view of the thymus lines up with the Anahata zone, the heart, the chest center. It's where you hold your space, or where you hold your balance between your inner and outer clarity and confusion. It's connected to sattva, which is your ability to stay clear-headed, calm, and direct. And when the center is working right, you can speak clearly, you act with purpose, and you don't second-guess every move you're making. You don't need everyone to approve of you either. When it's weak, you feel foggy, and you hold back from saying what you really think. You lose that natural sense of protection and grounded confidence. The Veda uses breath, warm oils over the chest, and herbs like Tulsi and Arjuna to strengthen this area. It's not complicated at all. It's about supporting the rhythm of your body so that this system has what it needs to stay alert. You know when you say something out loud and your chest feels solid? You know, or when something throws you off or your chest gets tight, that's this gland doing its job. It responds to voice. It's activated by resonance, and it responds to truth. It's connected to how safe you feel just being yourself without needing to explain anything or yourself to anybody, you know? You can wake it up by tapping the center of your chest with your fingertips, just little light knocks, like like I said before, you know? You can breathe into it, which is, I'm finding more and more with breath work lately that tapping and breath work absolutely bring chill bumps, and that's just such a powerful experience. That it helps to know that all the work and all the studies and research that we do on the things that our heart reveals to us pays off, you know, when we actually put it to the test. The thymus is part of how you protect your energy, how you know what's yours and what isn't yours. It's tied to your sense of identity. When it's active, you're less likely to get thrown off by what other people say or do. You stay focused, you stay calm, and you know what you're here to do. So, all right, guys, this is where the pieces are going to come together, and we move into the main topic that I wanted to talk about. The next three body parts we're going to discuss are absolutely essential to your inner power, your clarity, and your very perception of reality. The pineal gland, the spleen, and the skin. Then we're going to show you exactly how they've been targeted, disrupted, and hijacked, and not by accident, but by design. The protocol they've built to disconnect you from your own body is already in place. It's wireless, it's global, and it's running right this second. And they've given it a name. It's called IEEE 802.15.6. Let's break it all down. Starting off with the pineal gland, your inner receiver. The pineal gland is located right at the center of the brain. It's not big, but it runs everything when it's working right. It's responsible for tracking light, regulating sleep cycles, producing melatonin, syncing your internal clock to the earth grid, and letting you know when something feels right or wrong before you can explain why. It's a real part of the body. It's not just in spiritual texts, it's biological, but it is directly connected to intuition. The pineal contains piezoelectric crystals, structures that respond to vibration. That means it doesn't just detect light, it detects frequency too. It tunes your system to what's natural, earth cycles, truth, and internal time. And I want to stop right there. When we say earth cycles and truth, okay, the truth of all things, the truth of how humanity got to this place, where we come from, where we go, the real truth, man, not something that people teach you. It's something that people feel in their hearts. And when it's clean and functioning, you can feel when something's off, even if the data says otherwise. When it's blocked, you can be surrounded by lies and feel nothing. And that's why it's being targeted, because it's that thing that tells you whether or not you're being lied to. And we're being lied to regularly. All right. Let's see where we're at. I'm sorry, I lost my place again. All right. Fluoride builds up in this gland more than anywhere else in the body. That's confirmed by medical research. So why is fluoride still in our water supply? Why is it in toothpaste? Why is it one of the most pushed substances in public health history? Well, because a blocked pineal gland equals disconnected perception, and a disconnected population is easy to control. And that's just step one. I could spend more time on the pineal gland, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the spleen. The spleen is the filter for fear and frequency. It's under the ribs on the left side, and most people barely know what it does at all. So Western medicine says it's part of the lymphatic and immune system. It filters the blood, recycles red blood cells, and stores white ones. And that's very true. But that is like surface level information on what this thing does. So let's shoot over to the Chinese medicine. And the spleen is responsible for clear thinking, emotional regulation, energetic immunity, and your ability to recover from overwhelm. It takes in raw input and helps the body decide, what do I need to absorb and what do I need to let go of? When your spleen energy is low, you don't think clearly at all. You overanalyze everything. You get stuck in loops. You can't recover from stress. You start absorbing emotional static that doesn't even belong to you. Just, being in public like that and just absorbing it. I know there's people out there listening to this that have felt that. You just walk out there and it just feels like you're sucked dry by the people out there in the world. And that's not just mood. That's spleen chi collapse. And when your spleen is constantly being hit with electromagnetic interference, chemicals, and nervous system overload, it can't keep up, man. This is exactly what we're seeing today. People with no energy, no attention span, and no emotional resilience. It's the poisoning of the subtle body. That's not a coincidence. It's a targeted weakening of the spleen gate. And sometimes I just get so worked up about this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the skin. It's the human sensor network, okay? Now the skin, most obvious but misunderstood system in the entire body. Your skin is is your biggest organ. It's your first defense system. It's packed with nerve endings and pressure sensors, thermoregulators, immune receptors, and antenna-like little cells that are literally designed to pick up on what's happening all around you. It's not just protecting you. It's reading your environment 24/7. Before your brain gets the message, your skin has already felt it. That little piloerection is actually the scientific name for it, but when your skin sends chill bumps up and makes your hair stand up. That's your body sending you messages. In Chinese medicine, the skin is part of your Wei Qi system, and it's tied to your nervous system, your ability to hold presence, and your body's connection to light, temperature, and movement. So what happens when you put heavy metals in deodorant and microplastics in lotion and synthetic fragrance on every pore and Wi-Fi on blast 24 freaking 7, man? You shut down your first line of defense. Your sensors go offline. That's not a side effect. That's by design. The skin is the first layer of surveillance. If you confuse it, shut it down, or turn it into a transmitter, you've bypassed the body's firewall. Which brings us to IEEE 802.15.6. Body area networks and the war on this beautiful sacred temple that we inhabit. 802.15.6 is the international standard for body area networks, also known as BANs. It's not a theory. It's published protocol from the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, the people who create the standard that govern Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and all our wireless tech. So what is a body area network? Okay. We're getting conspiracy a little bit here, but it's not conspiracy. So it is a system where your body becomes the node on a grid. Your skin, your organs, fluids, and frequency patterns are monitored and communicated wirelessly through wearable, implantable, and ingestible devices. It's already happening all around us. This standard was created over a decade ago, and it allows for real-time biometric scanning, EMF signal transmission through tissues, data collection from organs and skin sensors, remote adjustment of body systems using frequency. And let me say that again, remote adjustment of body systems using frequency. These are patented things, guys. We have to wake up to what they're doing. And ask yourself, why would this even be necessary unless the goal is to control the human body without your permission? This isn't wearable tech for fitness tracking and my smartwatch and all that. This is infrastructure for wireless human control. And the only way this can work is if your pineal, your spleen, and your skin are already offline and too scrambled to register what's happening. They don't need to control your mind directly. They just need to remove your natural sensors and replace them with synthetic ones. And that's what this real war is. That's what this section of this podcast is all about. About knowledge, giving back more power to the people. This is what's happening without our consent. It tracks your heart rate, your sweat levels, your hormone activity, your temperature, your oxygen saturation. It also sends and receives low-level EMF signals through your body tissue. It syncs your nervous system to external control grids and manipulates how your body processes reality without you ever even knowing it. And it's being sold to the public as health monitoring, smart medicine, and next-gen biotech. It's not about your health at all. It's about turning your temple into a network node. You can't opt out of this war with a product. You opt out by remembering what the body can do when it's no longer jammed, poisoned, or wired into false systems. Here's what that looks like. Your pineal gland, drink clean water, no fluoride, cold exposure and stillness, silence, no screen light at night, so fast from your screen. Your spleen, eat grounding foods, slow rhythm, tap, hum, nervous system repair, and less digital input. And for your skin, natural products only, real sun, bare skin in the elements, cold, hot exposure, and no wireless on the body. For your environment, you disable your Wi-Fi, especially at night. Turn off the Bluetooth when it's not needed, and hardwire your connection when possible with the Ethernet cord. But most of all, stop waiting for permission to trust yourself. The pineal gland already knows what time it is, man. Your spleen knows. Your skin knows. You just have to remember what all this stuff does. This is why they've lied to us. This is why they removed organs and dumbed down anatomy and sold you poisons labeled as progress, not to protect you, but to disconnect you. So now you got the blueprint, and you got the right to say not anymore. So I hope you guys take this information and don't take my word for it. Go out there, do the research, download any of these search engine AI things, and educate yourself, man. Find out what, if you having problems, or somebody you love is having problems, and take it upon yourself to be their secret doctor. Go and research, see what Chinese medicine says, see what Vedic medicine says, and be a free thinker, guys. Most of all, be a free thinker. I can't stress that enough. If you feel off about something inside, then go out there and do all that you can do to prove that thing right. Because if you can prove your feelings right on the inside, then everything I'm telling you guys is true. I'm going to end it tonight like I did last night, or last show. And from the stars to our hearts, this is the Memory Bank. And it's a pleasure to be here and doing this with you guys. I love y'all. See ya. Peace and one love.